Welcome to Dan Really Likes Wine, and a focus this week on an area I know rather well because while I lived in Cape Town, my home was on the outskirts of this particular area. It is Constantia, and it's been famous for hundreds of years for making some quality wine, often slightly smaller, slightly more bespoke vineyards and estates, but terrific quality. Throw in one or two lovely golf courses and some great restaurants, and it is a terrific part of the world. And it kicks off this week with wine from one of those estates that has a lovely golf course and a lovely restaurant. It is Steenberg, and it is their Pinot Noir Cap Classique. My friend Fiona de Souza first introduced me to this. She told me it was lovely, and I have agreed with her ever since. And so her and her husband Adrian de Souza, the former Portugal footballer, are people I try and visit on a regular basis. They think it's to go and catch up with them and hang out, but it's mostly to go and see their bistro that they have at Steenberg, to play some golf and to try some terrific wine. JD, the cellar master down there, oversees a terrific cellar, some wonderful wine, and this Pinot Noir, it's a 2015 Cap Classique, very much at the front of that queue. And from that wonderful puff of smoke that emerged when I opened the bottle to that palest of pinks, a translucent salmon, everything speaks about subtlety and elegance to this particular wine, a very delicate creation from, in Pinot Noir, the most delicate of grapes. Now it's got a very understated berry feel to it, that slightly unripe strawberry leading the fruit. Mix that with a mouthful of bubbles, and that is screaming summer, sitting on your deck at Steenberg, watching somebody like me hit a golf ball through your front window and taking in the sunshine of one of the lovelier estates down in the Cape. As bubbles go, this is up there with the best of Constantia. So if you head out of Steenberg, look across to the US Embassy, turn left, carry on up the road, through the roundabout, go past Constantia Eitzig, where sadly you can no longer turn in to go and play cricket, and I think it's your next left, you turn just before you get to Peddlers, up to the top of the road, and you'll find yourself at Klein Constantia. I love visiting Klein Constantia. I've done a number of events there, a couple of Tour de France and cycling events. The owner of Klein Constantia is cycling mad. He has a team in the Tour de France that he's involved with, and they're also makers of some terrific wine in a small estate that I've had the pleasure of drinking a lot of wine from over the years. And the multinational feel to the estate is extended in this particular wine. It's a collaboration. Pascal Jolivet, if you know your French wine, you'll know the name Pascal Jolivet. The Sancerre he makes in particular in France, most celebrated. And this Sauvignon Blanc is a collaboration between Pascal and the team at Klein Constantia. It is called the Métis, and this, in the line of the Ruperts and the Rothschilds, is an example of France and South Africa collaborating on a subject both countries are rather fond of. Now, I'm not sure if it is the French and South African collaboration that's done it, or it's just the way that this particular wine was made, but there's a wonderful substance to that Sauvignon Blanc. It's a little bit bigger than some of the ones that we might usually drink. There's a nice fullness to it. It's a really rich and belligerent version of Sauvignon Blanc. I think it's the South Africans showing the French how to do it right, but I'm sure Monsieur Jolivet had more than a fair hand in creating this final product. It's Klein Constantia in partnership with the French, and again, it's Constantia with much to celebrate. So from Klein Constantia, drive out of the estate, go down the road, turn right about all of 100 yards, and you'll find yourself at Buitenverwachting. And Buitenverwachting I have many fond memories of. I spent a lot of time post-university days at weekends meandering around the Constantia Wine Valley in what I can look back now upon as experience and research and part of my job requirement. And I had a lot of the Buitenverwachting wine. Their bubbles in particular I really liked. And I also drank a lot of their Mayford, particularly because my favourite pizza restaurant, which wasn't too far from where I lived, happened to have it on their small but rather nice wine list. They didn't have the Christine, that's a little more expensive, but they certainly have it at their restaurant. And the restaurant at Buitenverwachting is consistently outstanding. It looks out across the vines. It's a delightful part of the world. It's a lovely place to eat, and it's an even better place for a drink. The Christine's won a fair few awards. It's a fairly straightforward blend. It's Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, about 50% of each. Could be a couple of percent either way. And this, sitting at 5 years old now, should make it in an ideal place to try. Buitenverwachting, for those of you who speak Japanese, means beyond expectation. And it's not really beyond expectation because I've had the Christine before and I've always enjoyed it. But if you haven't, I suspect it may well go beyond expectation. It's a rich, luxuriant blend. It has all the notes of a rich red blend that you would expect, and it's aged delightfully thus far. But as with so many of the wines we have on Dan Really Likes Wine, with the potential to do a lot more. I'd advise you get some. I'd advise you put some in your cellar. But if you really want to try this at its finest, head over to the restaurant, order a bottle, and enjoy it looking out either during the day over the vineyards or at night over the sparkling landscape that surrounds Buitenverwachting and looks down over the gorgeous Constantia Valley. And then to wrap up our whistle-stop tour of Constantia, the Sebastiaan from High Constantia. You might not know this estate as well. It's not as high profile as some of the others in the Constantia Valley, but it has just as much experience on its side. It's been going for as long as any of the other big players, and David van Niekerk is bringing it back to its full glory, and doing so with wines like this. So this is the oldest wine we've had so far from our selection, 11 years old, but it's not nearly as old as the estate itself, 1693. So there is a rich heritage, and it's a heritage that David van Niekerk is looking to celebrate with this particular wine. It is a blend. There's some Cab Franc in there, some Cabernet Sauvignon, some Petit Verdot, a bit of Malbec, a bit of Merlot, and those all come together in a wine that, as you can see, is just starting to show its age with a hint of rustiness to the outside limits. I probably caught this just in time. 11 years of age. I think that's where it's probably sitting at its nicest. Big competition to compete with that Christine that went before it. I think that might just edge out, but this is still a superb wine. That colour betraying its age, but you can still pick up that lovely complex group of wines that have come together to make the Sebastiaan. Not a wine you'll see a lot of, small amounts at a small estate, but there are a number of those places in Constantia, and if you want to find out about them in the best possible way, spend a day, maybe two, meandering through Buitenverwachting. The new Chef's Warehouse is just one of many excellent restaurants. There are also so many places to go and try out wine. A few days in the Constantia Valley, and you'll see why, since the days of Napoleon and his obsession with vin de Constance, this part of the winemaking world has been so sought after. Cheers.